Hello there. Today I watched the new superhero film Blue Beetle, and now I want to tell you about it. Just a little heads up, I'm about to butcher some names, so apologies in advance. Blue Beetle was written by Gareth Dunnett Alcoker and directed by Ángel Manuel Soto. The story follows a young man named Jaime Reyes, played by Zolo Maraduena. Jaime recently graduated from college with a pre-law degree and is returning home to Palmera City to see his family. When he finds out that his family is struggling to pay the bills, he drops everything and starts looking for work. This leads him to Jenny Cord, played by Bruna Marquez, the daughter of an eccentric billionaire. Cord tasks him with protecting a blue scarab artifact. When the artifact awakens and attaches itself to his body, Jaime finds himself running for his life from a businesswoman who will stop at nothing to get it back. To start off with, I want to say that I enjoyed the story. Jaime and his family are a fun bunch of characters with good hearts and they're easy to root for. That said, there are some problems with the film. At times, it can feel a little bit disjointed, and the character development is weak across the board. Jenny is a damsel in distress, the villains are different kinds of cliched tropes, and Jaime is a bit of a Mary Sue. The story isn't all that original, with several of its plot points resembling parts of other recent superhero films, and Blue Beetle as a character is a bit like a Green Lantern in a blue suit. He has some cool fight scenes. His story and family bring a lot of culture and personality to the superhero scene, and his abilities are a ton of fun to watch. His suit changes forms at will, and in the combat sequences, they make good use of this to create some amazing exchanges. His sword and armor will morph as he moves and allow him to deal with any and all opponents in front of him. He does get the hang of things a little too easily, but it's fun to watch him beat down baddies. The story has little bits of everything in it. It has strong themes about family, being true to who you are, and having compassion. There are little bits of humor here and there from George Lopez, who plays Uncle Rudy. There's even a romance line between Jenny and Jaime. There are some bad moments in this movie where you can see the Hollywood trope coming from a mile away, and it's just eye-rolling. Like when Uncle Rudy knows how to operate a warship without any prior training. As for the disjointed feeling, there was a lot of connective tissue missing from the film. It feels like they cut a lot of scenes out to try and get the runtime down. There are moments when we skip from one place to the next, and it's like there is something missing in the in-between. The movie's story is set in a fantastical world, but even with that, it doesn't explain itself well and has more than a few brow-raising moments. Like when Rudy the crazy uncle pulls off a perfect turn in his car, which launches an object at high speeds directly into the villain, while also not harming his nephew who's underneath said villain. There are lots of fantastical moments like this in the film, and they go completely unexplained. It's exciting, but it doesn't make much sense. Cast-wise, there are a lot of good performances in the film that end up being cut short. The film has a problem with not fleshing out scenes properly and giving the actors the time they need to work through the material. The general cast does a solid job of their performances, and there are a few people who are close to being standout. They do an incredible job with their role, but just didn't get enough time to make it truly stick. A big example of this is Damien Alcarza, who plays Jaime's father. He and Zolo have some good chemistry, and the scenes between them are quite touching. There's even a storyline in the film about Jaime looking for his place in the universe and asking his father for advice, and it leads to a couple of wonderful exchanges between them. His time is ruthlessly cut short, and his scenes end up feeling a little disjointed because of it. Maraduena, Marquezine, and Lopez all fight for the most screen time, and while all of them do a good job of portraying their characters, the film ends up splitting the time too evenly and everyone ends up feeling like supporting cast. It makes it harder to invest in Jaime's journey as a hero when he doesn't even feel that important to the story. Visually, the journey makes sense from start to finish and includes a lot of cool CGI action. They do a good job with the costume work and picking great locations to bring the story to life. When you're looking at the world of Blue Beetle, it feels real. Even the CGI elements have lifelike textures. The only time the film looks cartoonish is during the big CGI moments. When Blue Beetle starts flying around the world and getting into fights, there's a lot of CGI being used on top of real sets, and we get what amounts to a Transformer fight between him and the villain. These fights look great and are filled with creative attacks and defenses. My favorite shot was near the end. You had the Blue Beetle fighting the villain and the ground is on fire around them. There's this nice afterglow that lights up the action and it makes the scene look like something out of a myth. Sound-wise, the film uses a couple of scored instrumentals and a few original songs to build out big moments. When they're not playing music, the film is focused on the human element and working through the emotional material. The original songs are mostly pop songs. They're catchy, but they don't quite hit the mark in supporting the scenery. The scored instrumentals come in the form of versions of the Blue Beetle theme. The theme has a kind of Hans Zimmer vibe to it, but it's also generic sounding and doesn't stand out much. They use it a few times when he's fighting, but it ends up disappearing amongst the sounds of battle. The soundtrack was nice in the moment, but didn't have much of an impact. Overall, Blue Beetle is a decent superhero film that bites off more than it can chew. It has a lot of great moments in it, there's funny jokes, great action scenes, and an ambitious story. They ended up rushing things and parts of it were too cliche and nonsensical. The cast struggled to stand out because of how cut down their performances were, and the music wasn't well matched with the scenery. If you like superhero films and you don't mind them being flawed, give this one a shot. You'll probably like it. If you're looking for a masterpiece, this isn't it. As for a rating, I'd give this film a 6 out of 10. Remember, these are just my thoughts on the film. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Bye bye!